You want to make a bit more bread? Don't want to work until you're dead. So come and listen ahead and find some other ways instead.
Hello and welcome to the 4th episode of the Financial Freeman podcast.
And today we are going to be revealing all about our very first property purchase. The good, the bad and the ugly.
My name's Gary Freeman. I'm an investor and finance educator.
And I'm Roni Freeman. I'm a property developer, artist and mother. He's still a father.
Yeah. So, news story of the week.
Oh yeah, now let's start with news story of the week.
Right, and this week it's about someone called Charlotte. Charlotte, a former worker at McDonald's.
It's always good to get a free McDonald's.
Yeah, well, she's given that up now. So lockdown 1, all McDonald's closed. Furlough, yeah. And she was a bit down in the dumps, our Lottie. But instead of sort of moping about, she decided to do something about it.
What'd she do?
She signed up for a course, Princess Trust online techie course. She saw it was free, lasted 12 weeks. She's like, right, well, lockdown's going to be 12 weeks and we'll all be back in. So
good use of time.
Well, good use of time. You know, may as well just learn a bit, do something a bit of tech on the side. Why not? But actually ended up changing her life. How? That's it. That's the question, right? So, because she just loved the tech. She just couldn't get enough of it. She was like, right, I don't really love the fries anymore and the burgers and the late nights and the stresses of McDonald's. So she's applied for a job in technology and she got it.
Oh, well done, Charlotte.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And then so she's absolutely loved it since. She said it's changed her life and she gets paid more and more regular hours and more sort of general independence. So I think it's really an inspiration for all of us that you can change track, and sometimes when really bad things happen like that, then maybe
use it as an opportunity.
Yeah, you've got a phrase. What's the lemonade phrase? Lemons and lemonade.
Yeah, if life gives you lemons, you make lemonade.
That's it. So Charlotte doesn't need to make lemonade anymore because she's no longer in McDonald's. But hey, we'll know now when all the viewers switch off at 2 minutes 17 seconds because of the bad joke. But anyway, right, you all tuned in for property info, so we'll give you that. And we're just going to talk you through kind of the background to our purchase, how we purchased it, why we purchased it, how we got tenants in, problems with the refurb. So sit back, enjoy, take notes, and feel free to sort of ask us any questions after the show.
So I got the ball rolling with our property obsession. I actually bought a book to up my business acumen. I just picked
Great
it.
words.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what the book was about. I quite liked the title. It was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I started reading it. So it was about it's all about assets, and basically everything you buy is either an asset, which means it puts money in your bank, or it's a liability, which means it takes money out your bank. So I thought, okay, it's kind of interesting.
Did you ever finish the book?
Never finished the book.
No.
But Gary's read it several times, so as a collective,
we do everything together. That counts. And yeah, so you kind of read this and I thought, wow, this was kind of a light bulb moment. And I know quite a few others in the industry have said similar things. And it just made me think, right, let's do something about this. Property was kind of the obvious, easy sort of ish route in. Obviously, Roni had the skills. She'd done her own property, an extension of her own property, and clearly had done well at it. So I thought, right, let's kind of get cracking. So we did. I spent the next 3-4 months after our holiday researching different areas, going on sort of these free courses.
These free courses aren't
well, they're not that free. They're designed to make you spend thousands. And I think we'll do an episode actually on whether you should get educated. Well, you should get educated, but on some of these courses, whether you should take them and things like that, because I think it might be quite a valuable tool and just a sounding board really if you're about to sign up for one of these courses. But anyway, we didn't pay in the end. It's a story for another day. But we did learn an awful lot, and sort of found what they call the gold mine area, and that was in Rochdale. It's basically local to where we live, about 20 minutes away, and the prices were just a lot lower than where we live, and it just made me think, well, okay, I get the location point, but that has to be a good entry point, and the yields were really good. Now, when I say yields, that essentially just means what rent you're going to get versus the property purchase price. There's a very basic sort of calculation. You work out your yearly rent over the purchase price plus your refurb work that you're going to do, and you get a total figure at the end of it. And they always say if you can target somewhere between 6 and 8%, then you're doing really well. And I think ours was just going to be higher than that. So happy days. It looked like a good area, and I drilled it down even further, which you've got to do. Is you can't just pick an area. It's no good saying, I'm going to invest in Liverpool or Manchester or what have you. You need to drill down again, and I'd come up with a place called Castleton. They had some good schools, and the most important thing for me anyway was the tenant demand. On Rightmove, if anyone's wants to try this, you can literally type in any area where you go to rent, and so not the to buy button, but there's a separate to rent button, and on there's a little box in the right hand corner where you can click it if you want to include properties that have just been let. And essentially what that allows you to do is work out what all the properties that have been listed, how many of them have actually been agreed to let. And there's no set percentage because it just depends.
The demand, basically.
Yeah, so there's no, if you've got 10 properties on there and 5 have already been agreed to let, you're in a good area where there's clearly demand. 5 have just gone off the shelves, so there's going to be hopefully people snapping up your 5. So anyway, we did all that. It looked really good for tenant demand, and then I found a property which came up as, I think the asking price was about 73,000. And it was pretty much the dream because it was just one picture. And on these courses, they always said, look for your one pictures.
Because it means it's a wreck inside.
Absolute wreck inside. So I'm thinking this is, ka-ching here. And I'd found a comparable. So I said the asking price was 73,000. I'd actually found a comparable about 20 doors down, which had sold for about, I think it was 120,000. So
we were like, whoa!
About a year before. So we were just so excited here because we were, we found the one picture, we'd found the comparable. This was like, we were going to do really, really well from this.
Make a lot of profit on that one.
Make a lot of profit. Like, it was going to be as easy as the courses had told us it was going to be. And as we'll find out, it didn't quite work out. But before we get there, do you want to talk about the viewing? Anything that popped up at the viewing?
Yeah, so it was not very nice inside, bit of a wreck, so I walked round, thought, strip all this out, make it very pretty. There's quite a few things you should look for in viewings, but at the beginning I just had a quick schmy around.
In fact, she texted me saying, it's great, it's a wreck. So I'm thinking, right, I'm receiving this, I'm in the middle of work, and I don't know what that means in terms of how much, but Then you got the builder around. Do you remember Paul?
Yeah, and he was like, yeah. Gave us a price. Yeah, can do it for about that. Yeah, and he kept not giving us a quote.
He just never wrote it down.
And Gary was like,
write it down. Right, just can you? Yes, and I think we'd probably have like a nightly, weekly argument about this. Where it's like, I've asked, and I'm like, okay, but we just need to write it down. We need to know what we're getting for our 20,000, which I think was roughly the quote. And then I spoke to the builder. He's like, I'll do it. I'm just like, and he'd always say some random location he was in that, I didn't know where it was, but like up in the hills somewhere. I'll do it when I'm back on Monday. I'll do it when I'm back. And I never did. So anyway, he still started the job, and he'd done our house, so we did trust him. We trusted him a bit, and he was a lovely guy. We just didn't quite know what we were getting for our money. And then I think there was we had to do one of those debates. Do you remember the toilet situation? Do you want to explain what you wanted an extra toilet, didn't you?
Yeah, there was basically a shed attached to the house, like it's part of the house, but the door was from outside. So I was like, well, you just put the door inside and make it into a downstairs loo. What was the debate?
Well, I didn't think that was a good idea because I said, well, look, because it was going to cost about 3,000 or 4,000 for a toilet, and Ronnie said, we've got to give them a toilet. We've got a downstairs toilet. They need one.
A 3-bed house.
I want to live there, 3-bed house, and I was like,
I always want to do it. Like if I I always imagine me living there, which is like rule number one.
Which is great because it does
don't,
but it makes it look really nice. So it does work in the long run. But I said for this, I actually kind of put my foot down. I said, look, the area doesn't demand that kind of thing, and obviously we want to look after our tenants as much as we possibly can, but they just don't need a toilet anyway. I managed to call the estate agent and spoke to their letting department, and they said you just don't need it. It's not going to make any difference to your rent, and just crack on because they can go upstairs to the toilet. So we did avoid that one, although we did have a few extra spends on the way during the refurb. But yeah,
it was I had so what now I know what to look for in a property, but at the beginning there's quite a lot to get your head around. There's the electrics, there's the plumbing, there's the state of the radiators, the state of the sockets, there's the boiler, there's the electric wall panel thing, there's if the windows are double glazed, there's to check the roof, there's
a lot
to check for mold, to check for cracks. There's when you're a beginner, that's a lot to take in. I remember while you're trying to walk around, and I also had my baby with me. I used to carry her in the sling with my properties, so
yeah, probably not the ideal scenario. Anyway, we still went ahead. So we were happy with the quote, and we did all the boring things like the legal work. We didn't do it. I didn't do it myself. Got sort of local solicitor to do that, and that was all fine. The estate agent had given me a mortgage broker, and he was great. If anyone wants his details, let me know. He found us a really good deal where there was no early redemption fee. So basically, it meant I could get a 75% mortgage, and then I would be able to refinance once we'd done the work. So that extra money that we'd spent, the 20,000 or whatever it was going to be on the refurb, essentially we'd be able to pull that back out of the deal. And after we'd done the work, so that I was really happy with. It was a good rate, so we cracked on with that. Found an insurance broker from sort of the networking group I've been part of, so it was actually fairly straightforward, the purchase. And then we'd obviously spent then a bit more work on the refurb, but Roni put a beautiful touch on it, and looked good. You were happy, weren't you?
Yeah, very smart, very fresh.
Really, really good, and really good for the area. So it was the day of the valuation, and he came round. He was also thought, wow, I think he was really kind of positive about what we'd done. Obviously they never know what to expect, especially some unscrupulous landlords who don't sometimes make the property as nice as they could do. And obviously this was sort of the opposite. He didn't comment on the lack of toilet as well, so that was good. And then the broker calls me up.
There was a toilet upstairs.
There was a toilet, yeah. We didn't make them piss outside, so that was okay. The broker calls me up and says, you were expecting like over 110,000. I said, yeah. He said, didn't get that far. It doesn't actually begin with a 1. I said, oh, please tell me at least it begins with a 9. He said, yeah, just about. And it was 90,000. He said, so that property that the comparable you'd found, even though it was so close, he said, yours isn't that comparable because actually yours is an ex-council house.
Oops.
Yeah, so you get that heart-sinking moment. I was like, damn, I didn't learn that on my free courses. Maybe if I'd gone to the paid ones, I might have learned. And I guess it was sort of obvious. Well, it is obvious now. I kind of know what's council house and what's not, but I just didn't really know. I didn't know anyone, thankfully, who lived in a council house, that kind of thing. So it was all a bit new. And so suddenly, sort of 20 grand had just been wiped out from
our profit,
and we'd gone from sort of what looked like an amazing deal to I'd call it a bang average deal. It certainly didn't become terrible overnight, but it wasn't kind of sort of fantastic anymore. Anyway, he said it was 90,000. I said, look, I still felt even if it was ex-council house, we might be able to do a bit better than that. And I went back and I'd found another comparable, which I thought I could use to our advantage, that still wasn't ex-council, but it looked a bit more like ours from the outside. Anyway, so I said to the broker, did great. He said, right, you can actually get another free valuation from another lender. So we did that, and it got to 95,000. And it was, it wasn't bad. So we could pull some of the money back out. Now we ended up spending almost, I think, 24 grand, I think, on the property. So technically, we could have come along remember we spent 71,000, 71.5 on the purchase price. So technically we could have come along and literally bought a brand new fresh house that had all just been done up for the same price of 95,000. But we wouldn't have learned, and we wouldn't have kind of had the experience along the way of doing what we did.
If it was on the market, they generally sell for a bit more than what they're valued at for the mortgage. So
exactly,
we wouldn't actually have bought a house for the same price at that standard.
But there you go, a good lesson learned. And then sort of come to the tenants, because obviously when the whole reason we went in for this was to make sure we'd get tenants and they'd pay well. And I'd spoken to the letting agent, as I said a bit before, about sort of what price I might be able to get for the property once it was done up. And they were like, yeah, £525 a month is kind of where you're looking at. £550 an absolute push if it's really nice. So I always like to push things, and I thought we might get a bit more than that. So I put an advert up on Facebook. Actually, I decided just to give it a go, see if I could get my own tenant in. They weren't charging a fortune, letting agent, to get a tenant in, but I just thought, right, we just overspent on the new windows that I didn't know about, and the valuation wasn't good. So I thought, right, I'll get the tenant in myself. And so I put it up, and loads of interest, and a young sort of family came round straight away, and they loved it, and they were really nice. Sort of the first impression was fantastic. You went out to meet them. I think you.
Yeah. Got on.
Yeah, you got on really well with them. I spoke to them on the phone, happy days, and they agreed to pay this sort of £600. I think they said 575 at that point. So I thought, wow, okay, that's so much better than what the letting agent had said. Jobs are good. And so do the referencing. It came back as didn't pass.
Oops.
Yeah, another oops. So this was kind of getting me a bit stressed now, because obviously things hadn't gone according to plan. And it was a real dilemma, because they were really nice, as we'd said.
She was about to have a baby.
Yeah, literally, that was it. Yeah, so she wants to move in the next day, kind of thing.
And they were ready.
And they're ready.
Yeah,
and the house is ready. So I thought, this is just brilliant. No voids, so no time where the property's going to be empty for. Let's just, so on one hand it was like, get them in, really nice. They said, oh, we'll look after your house so much, we'll treat it as our own. But on the other hand, I had this piece of paper with a big red sort of fail on it. And I come from a career where if you've got your red piece of paper and you haven't passed something, then you just don't touch it, basically. If you don't get your A stars, then you can't get into your job and all the rest of it. And so it was a bit of a dilemma, but I called him up and I said, well, the reason he failed because he had a county court judgment against I think it was actually the female. And I said,
oh, don't worry about that.
Yeah. No, she said, I said, what's it for? And she said, oh, I don't know. It's like, if I had a parking fine kind of thing, I'd be like fretting for days. And she just didn't know. And it wasn't a lot of money. So that was kind of the saving grace. It was literally like, less than half a month's rent. I think it was like 200 £300. And I said, have you got a guarantor? And they looked at me as though, no. And they said, well, we'll pay you a bit more. We'll pay you a bit more so you can get insurance. So now I was being offered £600 a month. This is now like £75 a month more than what the letting agent had said. And so I just thought, right, roll the dice. Let's just get them in. Worst case, we have to turf them back out again. And
we're going to have the baby on the street.
They're going to have the baby. Yeah, well,
like,
I feel a bit guilty. Anyway,
baby Jesus.
Just exactly. And so we got them in. And
it was worth it because they sent us a nice picture of their newborn a few weeks later.
Yeah, and they kind of asked really nice. They said, put pictures up on the wall or put curtains up?
Oh yeah, they said, can we put curtains up?
And it was just like, they were just really nice, and they sent me a text saying they appreciate this so much. And
they've really, really looked after the property.
And that's
every time we go, it's very clean.
And it was kind of worth the risk in the end. And they really have kind of properly, our gut feel about what they were like has come completely to fruition. They've really looked after it. There's been a couple of issues with payment, quite a few actually. But
it was Christmas.
It was first of all, it was Christmas, and then there were issues with the baby, and then there were issues with
health issues.
And then obviously the virus struck, and there was all kinds of issues. And at one point, I was looking through. He said, "Oh, I can't pay." I said, "Till when?" And he said, "Oh, I don't know, till when the virus ends." And good job I got intervene, because otherwise we'd still be sat here now with no rent coming in. So I talked him through the issues, and I ended up sort of basically being his accountant for the time, and looked into all the what it could get in terms of the cover and the benefits and the furlough schemes. And so we did all of that, and we ended up coming with a sort of a payment plan that got him through, really. And I think actually we basically got all the money back. There was a couple of other issues with the property where ended up with a bit of damp, and it wasn't particularly nice sort of living environment for them for a while, so we gave them a bit of money off for there. But
there was a bit of a roof leak
leak, but they caught up, and that was kind of the main thing. And again, I think that just sort of shows the learning sort of outcome from all of that is just talk to your tenants, be open with them.
Most of the time they're just genuinely trying their best.
They really are. He was really kind of trying. Once I'd explained to him how we're put off by this, we can't. Because at first he just thought we'd be able to get a mortgage holiday. He'd seen that plastered over the news, and he said, "Oh, you'll be fine." I said, "Well, no, it doesn't quite work like that. It'll help. It'll affect our credit rating and things like that." And so once we kind of explained that, and we were both open with each other, he was really. They were really working hard and came up with a plan. And it's about that open communication every month. If you're managing it yourself, certainly to just check, it's being paid. And sometimes tenants pay. We've got a tenant who literally just pays every month on time, every day, the right day of the month.
We're like, wow, we never hear from them.
And we've literally never had an issue. So this is not every tenant, but you might get one or two tenants that aren't necessarily that easy, and you just have to work with them. And remember, they are people. And they are your customers, most importantly. So I think just look after them. So anyway, I think we said a tiny bit before, there was other issues with the house, and there was the roof damp. What else? Was there something else? I can't remember. That was it. But anyway, it cost us quite a bit more money. And so, where we come to all of this is, would we have done all this again? We've kind of taken quite a few risks. The refurb was more expensive than we thought it would be. We've then had issues since then, which
taken most of the profit.
We obviously didn't get the valuation we thought, because the old ex-council
thought it was the good, the bad, and the ugly. Where's the good?
The good is the house. So the good is we've now got a good asset,
and the tenants,
and it has gone up in value. The area has done well, and that's kind of the because we did the research to begin with about finding the right area that would go up in value. It's done that. So when we refinance again this year, we'll be able to pull some money out, and most importantly, we have still got an asset that's bringing us money in every month. And we're not going to have problems, hopefully, with the actual property, every year that sucks away our profit, and we're hopefully going to have this for years, and hopefully the tenants are going to be in for years. They've already told us it's going to be there, a number of times. It's going to be their property for life, kind of thing. So that's bringing in, a good amount of money every year for not doing that much, even though we were managing it ourselves, and we have had issues. Now for the last 6 months, we've not had to do anything. And so
because we've sorted out the issues quickly,
really
we've gained a lot of their respect.
So that's it. We've got a good asset now, and it gave us, I think, most importantly, probably of all, is that it gave us a lot of confidence to move on. It gave Ronnie a lot of confidence, sort of project managing. We worked out that we needed a builder who did give us a formal quote with, what was going to be included for this 20k or whatever. So that was good. I gained experience about comparables, and you've really got to drill down and do it as much research as you possibly can. So I think we really learned a lot, and I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad we got the asset, and hopefully we'll kind of keep learning as we go along. So I hope you found that useful. There might be lots of questions, so please do get in touch. How did they do that?
Oh, right. I was just going to say.
Go on.
Yeah, all the courses say, your first deal, no matter how great you think you are, your first deal's probably not going to be amazing, and just get it done with, and the sooner you do it and just get onto the cycle, the better.
That's it.
If you want to get in touch with us, we are on Facebook, Financial Freeman, or we are on every other platform going.
Please do like and subscribe. It just sort of spreads the word, and that's all we're trying to do here. We're just trying to educate everyone. so they can be the happiest they can be. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.